The art of reciprocity. What is it? Reciprocity is when someone does something to and or for another, and whatever that gesture is or that act is, it is returned to them in kind. It's the same. So, for example, if you do a good deed for someone, they would do a good deed for you in return. That's reciprocity. Another example is, for instance, you're working on the job, you have coworkers, and someone springs for your lunch one day. You say thank you. The next day, you spring for their lunch. That's an example of reciprocity. Let's say you take someone to work one day so they can save gas, carpooling, if you will. And the next week, they take you to work. That's an example of reciprocity, right? It's interesting that some people don't subscribe to being reciprocal, if you will, returning the favor. And it's not a tit for tat type of thing. It's not an obligation per se. It is just something that's pretty common and normal for an individual to do. Return the favor to someone. No holds attached. So, if someone comes to my home, for example, and they say, Teacher Reginald, may I borrow uh, your drill? Okay, yes, you can borrow my drill. And then they return the drill back. And that's good. That's what a neighbor does, right? That's what a friend does. So let's say a month later, it's fall time, and I don't have a rake, and I have leaves in my yard, and their yard is clear. I knock on their door and say, Hey Joe, is it all right if I borrow your rake to rake up my leaves? And he returns the favor to me. Not even thinking about the drill incident before. It's just a neighborly thing to do. That's reciprocal, if you will. And that's an act of reciprocity, returning those favors. Doesn't have to be the same thing or the exact same thing. It's just being kind back and forth. Reciprocity. But where it gets a little strange is when people ask you to do things for them, especially on an ongoing basis. And you may not ask them for anything for quite a while. And when you finally ask them for a favor, they say, No, I can't do it. But you know it's within their means to do. But you've done numerous favors for them, and you find it to be a pattern they ask you for favors all of the time, and you're always kind and courteous to them and oblige them. But when you ask them for a favor, and it might only be one favor that you've ever asked out of maybe 10 that you extended to them, that's when you have to step back and wonder, what type of relationship or friendship is this that I have with this individual? And it can be family members too, mind you, because we're all human beings, irrespective of the relationship that we might have, blood or not. So, you see where I'm going with this? Reciprocity is something that should be very normal, and it is something that there should never be an issue with when it comes down to true, meaningful relationships. So, my question to you is, do you know someone or have you experienced someone that always asks you for favors and you extend your hand and allow them those favors, but they won't oblige you when you ask them for a favor? And that seems to be a pattern on a regular basis. Has that ever happened to you? Or does that happen to you? And if it does happen to you on a regular basis, you may need to reconsider your relationship with that individual and treat them with a long handled spoon, as they say. The subject is reciprocity.